Before you were appointed to this position, there were tons of critics. Obviously, the banks did not want you in this position, but you even had some Democrats. Listen to Senator Christopher Dodd of Connecticut, throwing cold water on the idea. What's the rationale for the fear? Because it seems as if, to the naked eye, wait a minute, this sounds like a no-brainer, but you had powerful interests who said, oh, this is the last thing we want to see, and she's the last person we want to see in the job.
It's always hard for me to understand this because to me it seems so obvious. All I want to do is see families have credit products, whether it's mortgages, whether it's credit cards, whether it's car loans, whatever it is they're borrowing money, where the costs are clear up front, where there isn't a ton of fine print, and hiding back in that fine print are tricks and traps that drive up the costs for people. That's all I'm looking for. And it seems to me that that's what the American family wants. And frankly, I think there may be some banks that say, I can live with that. I'm willing to issue a product in that kind of an environment. But let's face it, there are some financial institutions that are making a lot of money from that fine print and from those tricks and traps and from not telling people the true cost. And they want to hang on to their business model. It's dollars and cents here, I think, that we're talking about, Roland.
Well, and you know what is interesting? When critics of the financial reform bill, they came out and said, see, look what banks are now doing. They are changing the rules. They're looking for other ways to gain revenue. But the reality is that's what they do. And so the critics basically said, I remember Newt Gingrich was one of the folks who said, oh, see, this was a failure. And I'm sitting here going, wait a minute, how was it a failure to change a law to keep them from messing over the average person? Yes, they're going to figure out the loopholes. And so how do we even close those loopholes? Or is it a situation where, look, they are going to come up with any kind of way to make money?
So here's my view on that. This is one area where we actually have some good news to put on the table. The first thing that happened when the new administration came in is they got something called the CARD Act passed. And that basically outlawed about 10 really sleazy practices that the banks had been involved in. And then we got the Consumer Agency, which of course reaches out way beyond credit cards and is able, I think, to push us a lot further. But here's what's interesting. One of the big banks put out its shareholder newsletter, and it said, the new law that's gone into effect has cost us $650 million in revenues, and was complaining about this. And I remember reading this, and I thought, just one bank, this one set of practices, that's $650 million that stayed in the hands of real people,
right?
Stayed in the hands of the families. So you're complaining about it, and I got to say, I'm sitting over on this side saying, yes, exactly right. So, that's what we're back to here, Roland. You know this. It's all about money. And whether the money stays in the hands of the families or whether the money makes it to these large financial institutions. And my view is, look, if the big banks are selling something that families want to buy it, fine, make lots of revenues, knock yourself out. But you got to be fair about it. You got to make the price clear up front. People have got to know what they're buying. You don't get to change the terms afterwards. And they've got to be able to compare from one product to another. If that's the case, a lot of families may decide not to buy. Other families buy, but they know what they're buying and they're going to be responsible for it.